You are now listening to Carlie's Couch.
I'm Carlie.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy.
What do you do when where you are doesn't exactly match where you hoped you'd be? This week, we'll talk about how to accept where you are.
Oh man, I feel like everybody need this episode. Everybody being me.
Yeah, it's hard to not hit certain goals or to have certain things that you want or things you want to do. And sometimes you really can't look back and it feels like it's been years and you're still in the same place. And I guess that happens for a reason, but we will get into that after our question from the couch.
What was the single best thing that you have purchased recently? And so I'm going to start off with my two favorite answers. Whole butter and my training sessions with you. So shout out to y'all. I didn't bribe them at all. That's what they said.
On your back. That's good though. And that's useful too. Somebody else said my Kindle Scribe. What's the Scribe? I know what a Kindle is. I wonder what
maybe like you can write on it in my head.
Oh yeah.
That would make sense.
It has to do something with writing. Must be. That sounds cool. Another person said the tattoo they got in October, which makes them happy every time they look at it. Understandable.
Yep. Someone said a toy hauler, which I don't know what that is, but I'm assuming it's helpful because they said so we can go on more adventures. So that's cool. And then someone else said they bought a VCR/DVD player.
Useful. Somebody said a freaking laser beam.
Which I did ask follow-up questions, but she hasn't replied yet.
Yeah, you remember back when laser pointers used to be like all the rage and you taking them everywhere and we used to get in trouble? That was a time. Somebody said my new house. Shout out to you. Another said airline tickets, a trip to Guatemala. I'm sure that was awesome.
It did. That's on my list. Someone said my Pokeball Plus, a house in Oregon. And
that's nice.
An Hermes scarf.
That's nice. Okay, y'all got some nice stuff. Somebody said rent.
And then, I guess. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I guess living somewhere is a blessing. So shout out to that. But then someone else said, man, last week I unboxed my new vacuum cleaner. And while giving it a go, I whispered to myself, I kind of love this. And I don't remember feeling anything similar with any other purchases from last year.
That's funny. And that's real because as we get older too, it's like the most random things that you're so happy about. What was one of the things that you enjoyed purchasing last year?
Man, again, every time I know these questions are coming.
It's hard.
I know in the past, like I definitely would have said my juicer or my record player.
I think you've said those two.
I know for sure, absolutely. And so that's why I'm like, I don't know if I loved anything as much. You know what? My Christmas tree. So I bought a bigger Christmas tree this year and decorated it like a little 4-foot daddy, and I was so excited. Like I made like a hot chocolate. I watched Hook and I decorated it, and it was like I felt like a little kid.
Is it a real one or one you can use?
Fake, reuse, but pre-lit because I ain't playing with them lights. But I got to like decorate it and stuff, and it makes me happy every time I plug it in at home. I'm like instantly cozy.
Oh, that's sweet.
What about you?
I'll finally get a tree probably this year. I would say just this is the first thing I could think about. I would say this Garmin Forerunner watch because it's been really cool. I use it every day. It's been very helpful in my training for the half marathon, and it's been helpful in learning things about my body. So I know one of my friends bought one after I was showing them the stuff about it, and I've heard other people Emily talking to Emo sometimes because, she's super like.
She got one?
No, she hasn't got one yet, but we were talking about it because she's really into like hacking, life hacking and stuff like that too. So I really like it. I love it. Actually, it's very helpful for that. So I'll say that's one of my favorite purchases.
Ooh, I'm gonna add one more because you said emo and it made me think about it. I do a monthly membership to Kin Stretch with Beard the Best You Can Be on Instagram, and it's mobility programming. And y'all, as a trainer and someone who has extensive knowledge, like it is so helpful and very supplemental and will enhance any of your training programs, whether you're doing yoga, whether you're running, whether you're lifting weights. Start doing mobility work. You have to love your body.
But what is this thing though?
The purchase is it's a monthly membership to his like videos and to his programming.
Okay. Somebody you watch exercising.
Oh, he's great. Yeah, it's great, and it really has helped my personal training clients too.
That's good. Yeah, and I guess you also have to be on top of stuff for yourself and then for your clients also. Okay. All right, guys. So it is 2024. It is now a new year. And we were sitting around like, ain't shit changed. I mean, although it's weird because how I feel and with my life, things change all the time. It just does still feel like it goes in a circle kind of. Like I will have some real like times of like, okay, everything's going maybe in a new direction or things feel fresh or bringing a lot of income, whatever. And then it does feel like it always at some point kind of goes like, psych, you still got to worry about this and this or fix this and then that. With work, with relationships even. It could be like, oh, yeah, this is great. And then it's like, mess that up. Or living situations, friendships, all these things, right? Change is the only thing, obviously, that we can count on in life. And so things always change. But it can be difficult when, and I think a lot of people around their birthday feel like this too. It can be difficult when you're like, dang, I'm 30, about to be 39, and I don't feel like I'm where I should be or where I thought I would be at this point. But also I feel like maybe nobody feels like they are in that place. What are your thoughts?
Man, and that's why I wanted to talk about this, because I was like, I wonder, because it was around my birthday when I started thinking about this, around the end of the year. And I was just pondering, because I'm like, you know, at the end of the year, like I said, everybody starts to tally up, you know, what they've all done. At the beginning of the year, we start to set new goals, and we just did our Life Manifesto episode and you know, all those things. And I was just like, you know, why is it never good enough? Or at what point does it feel like it's enough? At what point can we like learn to accept where we are? Because I feel like, very much like Lexi said, it's kind of an ebb and flow of like feeling like you killing shit and doing things and making progress, but then like sometimes it feels really empty and like you're not there and like it's a struggle. And so I've kind of been like back and forth with that as well, kind of like a tennis match, back and forth with like feeling like it's enough and being able to accept the present and not, but then like these daunting feelings of like, is it ever going to be, you know, or struggling with that.
I feel like I can easily accept where I am. And for me, maybe it's more of a question of, I will question like what is missing that's not taking me to the next level. But when I'm day to day, and I think it's just a process of something you have to keep practicing and doing for yourself. But we always talk about things like gratitude, or we always talk about things like being in the present. And the more we practice those things, I think it automatically kind of takes care of the feeling relatively okay day to day, because you are in a certain moment and it is like, wow, that breeze feels great. And you're not necessarily thinking about all the like things of life. And yet, until it's like, oh, then you check the mail and it's like, here's 5 bills. Or maybe you're looking around and you're like, man, I don't have a family, or whatever it is, right? So those moments will still hit you where it's like you're recognizing lack or recognizing something that you don't have in your life yet. And it can be easy to let that get you down. And so it's like, why does life always feel like it has to be always trying to like, I don't want to say act like you don't care about everything else but this second, but you know, it's kind of like you do the best you can, but then there is the realistic piece of it where it's like, okay, there are things to take care of and things that you want to do. In which case, then I would say it kind of comes down to, like Darius said in episode fucking 10, like, you know, how many times are you going to say a thing, right? So if it's like, if there is a place we want to be, we just talked about visualization recently, then what are we doing to really get the details of what that looks like? What are we really doing to get to that? And I think a lot of times if we look at ourselves honestly, we'll see that maybe we have been sabotaging those things, and that's why we are not at this particular place.
We did an episode on the upper limit a long time ago, but if you search upper limit in Carlie's couch, it'll pop up. I think it was like 57 or something wild ago. But that is why we self-sabotage, because the things that we're sometimes working towards or dreaming about or visualizing might be more than what we believe we're worthy, more than what we believe we can have. It's literally breaking all the narratives that we have about ourselves. And so we tend to sabotage. This could be in relationships, whenever you feel like someone really loves you and you never felt that before. It could be in jobs when you get a big project that you didn't know you could even do, or your body, all these things. But that is why we start to self-sabotage. But I wonder on the flip side of that, like if you really are honest with yourself, because when I was thinking about this episode, I was just having a day where I was like, man, I really am doing all the things and I'm still not seeing like the type of return that I feel, like I'm not owed anything that I should be getting, but like I've been consistent. I've been doing all the work. I'm doing all these things, and it still doesn't feel like it's enough. It still doesn't feel like it's gonna get me there.
Or like in comparison to like are they the generation before us? For me, it's like the generation before us. If I'm talking about like my parents, for example, I was thinking the other day about how as a kid, I remember getting the rent check. Because it was like our job to go take it up to the office. And like I remember taking the rent checks up to the office and then being like $550 for a 3-bedroom house with my parents and 3 kids. And I was kind of thinking about now too how I'm like, you know what? Half of that, $225, and I started to think about how many more times things cost now. How literally the type of life you may have grown up watching is like literally not possible with that same type of resources. And things have changed in general. And so you also have to be okay with, hey, whatever examples you might have seen, even like with people, when you read like biographies and stuff, and we like to read a lot of books about like people's, how they started their business and, journeys and stuff like that. And it's not really a formula for real, because what happened for them is what happened because of the times they were in or, all kind of other circumstances in life. And so the biggest thing here is like we are comparing to an expectation in our minds. And how do we, kind of like accept the reality of certain situations, because maybe we are doing really well. Like I'm pretty sure I'm probably making maybe 2-3 times more than my parents may have when they had 3 kids. And also I could not have 3 kids right now. I mean, maybe I could, because once you do it, you figure it out. Yeah, like, you figure it out. But like it's just things are not the same. And so I think it's kind of a constant also like accepting the reality of our environment and life.
Yeah, and I feel like I was trying to think of like, where do we get these thoughts or like feelings? And so what you were talking reminded me of Steve Vaughn, talking about imposter syndrome when he was on the couch with us. And so I really feel like, as much work as we do, we're human. And so at times we might get inundated with these thoughts of not enoughness or struggling, or like the harsh reality that, life is expensive and there's all this craziness going on. But I really feel like a lot of it is unrealistic expectations. Like you said, imposter syndrome could be our own perfectionism, comparison, socialization, because I think that we're socialized to be in this rat race. Like that's really how we're conditioned. And so we're always chasing a thing. So we're just conditioned, but also,
and we're socialized in general that we should be successful, and that success is, your money, your house situation, all of those things. So, I was about to say, and it is, but, obviously those things can be helpful because of how our society is. And at the same time, like we've been talking about in the last few episodes, yes, you can be content, happy, et cetera, in whatever your situation is.
Yeah. And so thinking, just if you ever find yourself here, because really I was just like was having a day, even with all the work and things. And I was just like sitting with, what could it be, and just kind of processing my own things. And I think at different days and different times, it could be a different like catalyst for why you feel that way that day. It could be those 5 bills that came in, or it could be missing out on a project, or it could just be life, because sometimes the wind blows and you feel a type of way. But also one more thing to think through is like your base level of happiness. We did a whole episode about our capacity for happiness, and I feel like that's another upper limit problem at times. Whenever we feel too happy, like our brains might look for things to bring us back down to a more controllable level, so that we're not like let down or that. So it's kind of like things to think through if you do kind of find yourself struggling with where you are, if you're interested.
And I would say too that over time, I think we also have to like acknowledge what we have done and the things that have been accomplished, or the things that you have learned and grown with, because really it is kind of like we find ourselves going in cycles, not just because you may be like trying to sabotage yourself, like Carlie was talking about, but sometimes it's like we can only learn so many lessons, right? Like you're not going to, and I mean, I say can't, but you're not going to fix like every single thing that you haven't had an issue with, that was slowing you up, or you needed better processes. Like it really is a process of like one thing changes at a time. That helps something else get easier, and on and on and on, right? So even while I can say like, dang, I may not feel like I'm where I should be or where I would think I would be, it definitely has come a long way, even in like process wise, if we're talking about like work, team wise, the types of people that I can work with and stuff like that, right? Like everything has changed, but we do at whatever point have to look at if there is something completely holding us back. Like if we're like, dang, I cannot find a boyfriend, or, you know, you want to be in a relationship and it's like, you're just really bad with that. Or if you have your own business and it's like, I cannot break the, you know, making X amount a month point or whatever. It is still something you have to like look at with like what you're doing, how you're doing things, to recognize like what needs to change in order to make that a reality. Didn't we have an episode about that too, where it was like talking about dating and stuff? It's like, okay, well, are you going outside? Are you going to things?
Yeah.
Or and like you have to, I don't remember what that was necessarily in relation to, but if that's what if there's a particular place where you feel like you should be there and you're not, then you really need to like investigate what is the thing that's actually holding you back, and how much are you actually putting towards that thing. Because I know that when it comes to like work and stuff, I could complain about I want some new clients or whatever, and then I can also tell you haven't even tried to make a sale in however many weeks. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, now you gotta be going. But also all of that can sometimes still come down to overhead and money and whatever, right? And it's like, the more money you have, the easier it feels to make money. And so it can be really hard, and it can feel like a rat race in some places, but you never know where a breakthrough is going to come from, or what serendipity or what, you know, random thing will happen. You just really don't know. And so sometimes it's not worth to overplan, but if you're doing what you can do every day, then it's like, fine. You just look at your efforts.
Yeah, I feel like that has been the thing that's helped me the most. Like even this last time when I was kind of struggling, is like, am I doing all the things that help me show up as the best version of myself today? And sometimes that's not like investigative journalism on yourself. Sometimes that's making sure you're getting enough sleep, you're eating enough, you're exercising, getting sunshine, trying to be in the present, meditating, doing all those things. And then when you do those, like taking action, this was on my heart though, because I know it's so funny because you're like, you can't just fix everything. And it's like, I know that, but I think in practice, sometimes in life we forget. And y'all who listen to the podcast, y'all work on yourselves. Y'all are working on y'all's lives. And I just like, it's kind of a reminder for you too, that it's okay if you do feel like it's not enough sometimes. It is okay, even if you're doing all the work, to still have these feelings, because they're very real and we're very human.
What with that last thing you say? What was it that you're saying is okay to feel
like this sometimes? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think sometimes that's why I said, like in my head, because I'm doing this work, I should never feel like this. Like I know how to be present. I know how to meditate. I take care of myself. I do everything that I can most of, like 99% of the time. Like I really be working, and yet, like Lexi likes to say, some days I'm still.
Feels like you're still struggling,
bro. Out here like doggy paddling in the ocean sometimes, and it's okay. It is okay.
I mean, because also that's kind of what life is for everybody. Like even when you're looking at people who, maybe somebody who has fame or a lot of money, like they're gonna have their own things, their own issues, their own places where they feel like they're miserable or whatever, or can, right? And I think that's the key to remember, is like, no matter what's going on for you or where you are, you could feel this way or you could feel this way. Mm-hmm. And so going back to what we've been talking about, is kind of about, well, what can you choose to focus on, and really what makes the most sense for you to focus on for you to feel good? Because sure, I could be thinking about, man, I really thought I would be here now, or I wish I wasn't struggling with X, Y, Z. But like, if those thoughts aren't helping me or like, you know, giving me any kind of like buildup of love inside, then it just doesn't help me to think about that. It doesn't help me to focus on that in that way. And sometimes what I'll do is like, I'll try to refocus on, well, instead of focusing on how can I make more, get more clients or whatever, I will think about it more like, what can I do to have more energy? Because I know it's like a thing of kind of being brain dead by a certain time, or just not feeling like I have the capacity to look at my computer for more than an X amount of time or whatever. And so to Carlie's point, a big part of it is like taking care of yourself. And it's something about like how and when you take care of yourself, you really feel good. It feels good to take care of yourself. I took a bath yesterday it was like so fire, and I was just in there like, whew, it's just random moments where you're like, man, I feel great. Like, this feels so good. Life is good. And just practice having more of those moments. I try to have those like all through the day with any little thing. And it still just helps you to have at least an overall outlook of like being safe. I'm okay. I'm here, etc. And I don't know. I feel like this stuff all sounds kind of goofy a little bit, but it really does help.
It does, but those are the things, those little moments, those little things of gratitude. When you feel the sun on your face, when you're in your bath, your morning coffee or tea in your Carlie's Couch mug, you know, all those things. And then also action. We always talk about action. So making sure you're taking action, but I would say take your focus off of that big overarching thing that you feel you have to live up to or trying to reach, and just focus on the process, focus on your consistency and your ability to show up every day. And know that it'll work out.
Yeah, I was laughing at a comic I just read this morning, and it was like a couple of different squares. And the first square was like, remember, you should always break things down. And on his board it said, clean up the house. And then on the second one was like, no, even smaller. And it was like, clean up your room. It's like, even smaller. Clean a thing. And he's like, yeah, maybe a little smaller. And then it was like, breathe. And then he was like, so sometimes it's like, you don't even got to think about the big thing. Just like, what do you need to do right now? Like, just to refresh or whatever. And even that sometimes is a struggle. Like, sometimes even you break that thing all the way down to just pick one thing off the floor, and it still could be a struggle. But that's a good point, is like, think about what you need to do for you. Think about what you can do, and you do those things. And make sure you are doing something, though, because you'll feel good. Just to know, like, okay, I'm checking these things off. I guess the same way that I'm like training for this half marathon is very similar to how we probably could be like training for all kind of other things. I wonder if I could make some kind of like a process where it's like Monday, just send 2 emails.
There you go.
Tuesday, just hop on LinkedIn for 5 minutes. Wednesday, send 3 emails. Like, maybe there's something like that where I could follow, because I'm so, like, anytime if I missed a run or missed anything on one of my days, I always feel so bad. And I'm calling like, man, I'm sorry, I missed this one. I got to do this and that. He's like, it's okay to skip a day or whatever. But like, I feel like I have to do it. But why is it like when it's just me and I'm like, all right, I have a to-do list. If I miss something, it's like, whatever, because nobody else saw it or I don't know. Maybe I need accountability or something. But
yeah. And I would say, I just saw a meme to wrap that up is, you know, if you, you know, let's say, because, you know, the sun sets at 1 p.m. now. But if you miss your 8-mile run, you know, 30 minutes is better than missing anything. If that's all you can get in today, do 30 minutes. A 5-minute stretch in the morning is better than like, let's say you miss a 90-minute yoga class. Okay, do 5 minutes. Like, I think sometimes we get so stuck to the end thing that we don't remember that any step towards our goal is a step.
Yes, and it's easier to accept where you are when you are recognizing in yourself that I am doing things. I'm working towards that. And so it is important to do that, because otherwise we are kind of lying to ourselves. If it's like, man, why do I not have this? And it's like, well, if you look at how much time you spent the last month on that thing, like, why would you expect to have it? And I think that we kind of play ourselves by not really respecting the time it takes, the effort some things take, and really putting our all into it. And maybe because we're trying to do so much and everything, it's like we have all these goals and things, and it's like we're just moving a little here, there, blah, blah. And it's like, well, maybe we need to, another thing could be to tighten up on a thing.
Consolidate.
Yeah, maybe just tighten up on one small thing and like go for it. Figure out what works for you. And that's something that we plan on talking about in the future as well, is like, how do you figure out like the best way to be productive that works for you, that feels like, okay, I'm actually doing something efficiently and consistently and all those things. But if you are putting in the work, if you're still here, if you still care about this goal, accept where you are with it, and then let's think about a plan on how to continue to move towards it.
Yep. So take the pressure off yourself. Hit us at Carlie's Couch this week. Let us know if this resonated, and we'll see y'all next week.
Peace out.